Welcome to Vinyl Dance and Channel 33 RPM. This is the segment where we check out cool music rooms from across the vinyl community and around the world. I gotta say, this first room blew me away, but all of these are super cool. Alright, check this out. This first one is from Mitch, and Mitch wrote, "Great channel, I love your content. Awesome, thank you very much, Mitch." He wrote, "I'm almost 50 years old. I was born in Montreal in 1974, but I moved to Toronto 24 years ago." Mitch writes, "I've been an audio addict for over 30 years, but I got out of the hobby 20 plus years ago when my kids were little." And look at these images, man. He says, "I got back into the hobby almost 4 years ago thanks to COVID." I think COVID got a lot of people into vinyl. I hear that from a lot of people. Mitch said, "This time I went with the best of the best, all end game components for me." I say end game because to improve the sound even 2 to 3%, I'd need to spend another million. That's not a typo, another million, which I don't have. All included, Mitch writes, "Everything in my cave comes to almost $2 million. Holy crap. And yes, I have everything insured for $2 million. I assume him being in Toronto, that's $2 million Canadian. Doing a quick calculation here, that equals about 1.5 million US and 1.4 million euros. Okay, what else does it say here? "I'm finally over the moon about my setup. My cave is in my basement and I have over 1,000 records, all near mint, and the majority are limited audiophile pressings. My room is divided into 2 areas, but I spend 85% of my time in the audio room listening to vinyl. As you can see, I love Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and my favorite is anime." Let's take a closer look at the music room side of things. Mitch left me a list of all his gear, but I'm not going to mention all because there's too much, but I'm going to list some of the highlights here on the screen so that you can check it out. I can't do everything justice in the few minutes I spend per room here. And what else? Mitch wrote, "I have 3 dedicated AQ 20 amp Edison wall receptacles, and each one is on its own dedicated 20 amp circuit. The wiring in the wall is cryo-treated 10 gauge copper." So all this stuff, man, is running on independent power circuits. Those figures on the shelves and along the walls, man, those are cool. I don't know much about Marvel, DC, and anime, but those are damn impressive. And beyond that, we have what appears to be a record cleaning room with some cool stuff there as well. I mean, I gotta say, saying that this is an amazing space doesn't do it justice. This is really unlike anything I have ever seen before. Mitch, congratulations, man, on making your dreams come true with this system and this setup. It's freaking awesome. All right, let's move across the world. This next one comes from Peter, and Peter writes, "Hi, my name is Peter. I live in the Czech Republic. I am 15 years old, and I started collecting records and hi-fi equipment when I was 14. I gotta say, I really love featuring young people on these segments. It just shows that I'm 50 years old. I'm an old guy, but it just shows that a lot of young people are getting into this, which is awesome." Peter lists his equipment here, including a Tesla NC450 turntable. That's a Czech brand. That turntable's belt drive weighs 11 kilograms, which is over 20 pounds. It was made in the mid-1980s. It has a Tesla reel-to-reel tape deck. It's got a Sony cassette deck, receiver, CD player, preamp, and a power amp. And he has, I want to make sure I get this right, Quadral Orkan Mark II speakers. I wasn't familiar with that company. I believe that's a German company. And the speakers seem to be available throughout Europe and Australia, but not here in North America. Peter writes, "I built my hi-fi setup in my room, and the interesting part is that I built the shelves out of brick and wooden planks." Cool, man. That's old school. That's how we did it in the 80s. He writes, nearly all of the components belong to my dad, who gave them to me. My favorite bands are The Doors and Pink Floyd. Awesome, Peter. Thank you for sending this room over. All right, 33, when it's time to upgrade your vinyl den, check out the cool record storage consoles from my friends at Sidetracked Workshop, the sponsor of today's episode. These record storage consoles are gorgeous. It's not flat-packed, bolt-together furniture. We're talking high-quality, sturdy, all-wood construction, handcrafted in the USA by Sidetracked Workshop. The consoles come to you fully assembled. You only need to screw on the feet. That's it, and shipping is free in the US. You spend a lot of time and money on your record collection. Show it off proudly in style with these beautiful mid-century modern designs. Head over to sidetrackedworkshop.com to learn more, and when you're ready to buy, use code 33RPM for a 15% discount. Now, back to Vinyl Dens. All right, this one comes from Lee. Lee writes, my name is Lee Harrison, and I live in the north of England in the UK. I am 50 years old, my age, and have been collecting vinyl since I was 13 years old, and have about 4,000 LPs and singles and a few hundred compact discs. I'm a big lover of blues music, he writes, along with prog, psych, and classic rock, but to be honest, enjoy all types of music. Over the last couple of months, I have converted my garage to my very own music room, but would love one day to have my own shop. This is cool, man. It looks small and unassuming from the outside, but awesome inside. It kind of looks like a small record store, right? I'm going to assume that Lee calls this place Blue House Vinyl based on that sign on the wall. What else here? Lee wrote, the pictures show before the conversion and how it looks now. I'll throw up those before images here. It looks like the garage was primarily used for storage, so Lee did a good job really cleaning all that up and making it into what it is today. He writes, his gear includes a Technics SL230D turntable, a one Little Bear Phono stage valve preamp, a Technics SU V460 amp, and Mission 773 speakers. What else? He writes, my holy moly wall has some of my grails. That's cool. We all got to have a holy moly wall. I like that. He writes, I love how I can just flip through my record bins, which I also made myself, like being in a music shop. Exactly, that was my thought here as well. This is cool, man. I love the look of it. Love it. Cool stuff, Lee. Okay, this one comes from Jim. Jim writes, hello, my name is Jim. I'm 48 years old, and I live in Norway. I gotta say, this may be my first submission ever from Norway. Jim says, I love your show and I wanted to show you my little music room / man cave. All right, this seems to be an attic or at least an upper floor of a home or something like that. Jim writes, it's a bit small, but it suits me fine. I've collected compact discs since the mid-90s and vinyl since 2017. He writes, I have about 1,300 LPs and roughly 1,000 compact discs. He says, I love all genres, so you'll find everything from death metal to 80s pop music. Jim writes, his gear includes a Madison MAD 1305 amplifier, a Technics CD player, and an Argon audio turntable. He says, I spend as much time as I can in my room because I just love listening to music. It gives so much on so many levels. I agree. I think a lot of people could agree with that statement as well. And it's just cool. It says, P.S. The clock on the wall is always set at 2 minutes to midnight. And Maiden fans will know exactly what that means. Cool space, man. Okay, this next one is a 2-4. Comes from Chris and Michelle. Chris is 50 years old. A lot of 50-year-olds in today's video, which is my age as well, which is cool. And Michelle, who is 52, and they're from Milton, Ontario, here in Canada. And they write, or Chris writes, wanted to share our journey into the vinyl spectrum and warn others of the rabbit hole we fell into. Well, this piques my curiosity. It started a few years back when my wife and I were watching the TV series Bosch. And the main character would come home from work and put on some jazz vinyl to unwind from the day. Michelle was intrigued and would say that we should get a record player. Michelle purchased an Audio-Technica record player for us, and that's when things snowballed. All right, suspense. Chris writes, I thought I would use this opportunity to finally expand my knowledge, our knowledge, into the blues, jazz, and swing genres, because there was no need to go and duplicate our CD collection and rebuy them all in vinyl. The big hurdle for us was that we did not want to go into a record store and pay $30 an album, which really is the reality today, particularly if you're buying new records. So Chris wrote, so we discovered that antique markets and flea markets were the place to go. We were finding records mostly between $4 and $15, which was great. He says next came up the idea of turning our living room into a lounge. We did a faux brick wall with lighting and printed pictures advertising live shows. Chris says it's all about the environment and mood created for us in our lounge, not about having the most expensive equipment and albums. That's cool, right? You got to do what suits you. You can have $2 million worth of equipment, or you can have a couple $100 worth of equipment. It's all about what you can afford and what makes you happy. Okay, this comes from John. John writes, my name is John. I'm 54 years old. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, USA. I started collecting vinyl when I was a kid. Unfortunately, like many of us, I made the mistake of selling off my collection decades ago in favor of CDs. I think I hear that same sentiment in all of these Vinyl Dens videos I do. It's common, and a lot of people are really mad at themselves for selling all their records in the 80s and early 90s. John writes, I got back into vinyl 3 years ago and have been rebuilding my collection ever since. I have around 300 records, including most of what I once had in my youth. My vinyl den is in my basement. My equipment consists of a Fluence RT85 turntable with an Ortophone 2M Blue stylus, probably one of the most popular turntables I see, and definitely the most popular stylus I see by doing these videos. He also has a Fluence PA10 phono preamp and Fluence AI61 powered bookshelf speakers. John writes, I enjoy listening to all sorts of different genres of music, as well as discovering new to me music, many of which I've grown to like from watching your channel. So thank you for that. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that, and glad I can be of service. Thank you so much for all the great videos, Frank, and my best to you and your family. John, thank you very much. All the best to you as well. I love your basement space. I'm a basement dweller myself, and this one's clean, neat, and airy. Good job, man. Okay, this comes from Ryan. Ryan writes, my name is Ryan Dransfield. I'm 19 and I live in Rexburg, Idaho. I have gotten into collecting vinyl records more recently. My first record was given to me as a birthday gift for my 16th birthday. It was 1984 by Van Halen. Classic record and a great way to kick things off. Ryan writes, I have always loved music since I was a baby, thanks to my dad. I am also in a band named Downbeat, and we just started releasing music recently. Awesome. Cool, man. Ryan writes, my setup includes a Sony turntable, a Sony receiver, and B&W speakers. My setup, he writes, is in the loft of my house. It has an old cabin type of feel to it, and we love this room. It's definitely awesome. I love the wood walls and ceiling, and it does look like a cabin, as he mentioned. Ryan writes, I know you like game rooms, so I sent you a picture of our arcade machine. We also have a mini basketball, ping pong, and darts. Definitely love that. He writes, I don't have tons of records, but I buy as many as my wallet allows me. This is just the start, and I cannot wait until I have hundreds or thousands of records. This is cool, Ryan. You're off to a good start, man. I'm glad you're so excited about this, and wish you luck with the band and music and all that good stuff. This comes from Jack. Jack writes, hi, my name is Jack. I'm 13 years old and I live in Washington State, USA. I am a very new collector. Started with vinyl about 2 or 3 years ago. I collect vinyl, compact discs, cassettes, and I have one 8-track. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love the fact that young people are getting into this, and I love showing off the spaces of young people just because it makes me feel good about the future of this hobby. Jack writes, my music space is in my bedroom on the second floor of my family's house. I love my gear. And he says, Jack writes, did you notice the rug? It is a giant turntable with a little rug outside the door that matches. I dig it, man. Jack, you're off to a good start. Thank you very much for showing the space. And this comes from Richard. Richard writes, hi, my name is Richard. I'm 34 years old from Derby, Kansas, USA. I've been collecting records since 2016 and still going strong. I currently live with my parents for mental health reasons. His gear includes Bose speakers, a Sony audio receiver, an Audio-Technica LP120X USB turntable, a Sony DVD player, a Crossley jukebox, and a Victrola all-in-one suitcase turntable, and tons more. Richard, this is cool, man. I'm glad you're rocking the tunes and you're rocking the gear. All right, 33ers, what did you think of today's Vinyl Dens? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I will be back soon. Until then, keep on spinning.